welcome out to our halftime report here, 11/4/2020. It is Coach Tim as your host. Exciting show here today that we're going to break down some of the market reaction, what's happening out there with U.S. election results still not quite clear as to what we're going to be seeing from our next U.S. president. Markets are rallying, tech is up, communication services are up, certain specific sectors are up, and broad-based, guys, we're seeing upward movement across stock prices. We'll analyze all of it today here in our halftime report, our show that we analyze all markets on a daily basis. We've got the full crew here, regular, kind of crew that we always do. Matt is on the back end doing analysis. Noah here is running the screen. Mark here for analysis as well. And Cody is producing the show. Let's start with you, Matty. How you doing today on a Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here to break down the market action on a post-election where we still don't know. I mean, this is a scenario we thought might play out. It was talked about very heavily over the last 2-3 weeks, just the way ballots were coming in this unprecedented election, and it's I wake up on a Wednesday morning, and even though we don't have clarity yet regarding who's going to be our next president, there are certain things we do know. And I think that's what the market is focusing on right now. We'll get into that, but here's things here's what we know right now. We know that we still have votes that are being counted right now in many states in the union, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. We know it's a tight race for the president right now, for the presidency, and we might know exactly who the announced victor is later today or maybe tomorrow. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But what we do know right now is that the blue wave that there was a lot of analysis around did not occur last night. And what we know is that the Democrats are going to maintain a House. Republicans will probably pick up 1 or 2 seats, maybe even more. Republicans are going to maintain the Senate, and they maybe drop 1 or 2 seats with the majority in that 51 to 52 range. And so I think what the market right now is focused on is the things we do know, right? Not the things we don't know. And there's going to be a lot of analysis on the presidency this, the presidency this, but I think today's price action, in my opinion anyways, has much more to do with what happened in the Senate than it does actually the presidency. And so let me put it like this, guys. And again, this is in a scenario where we do not know exactly what is going to happen from an executive perspective right now. Again, what we know is it's a very, very tight race. It is that horse race a lot of us were expecting, right? I mean, Noah, you said in the podcast this week that the polls were going to be wrong, and the polls were disastrously wrong.
Yes, but is it too late for us to delete that podcast?
Not yet.
All right, because we might want to delete that one.
Not yet. But again, think about it like this, guys. Whether it's a president, and again, I said this yesterday, and I said it on the podcast as well. This is what I love. I love post-election analysis. Absolutely geek out on it. And what I'm seeing in the market right now, and we've had a nice day, but can you drop me down into a 30-minute chart very quickly just to kind of show the price appreciation?
Betcha. We got to talk about it a little bit in the coaches show last night, and that's a 5-minute chart. And that's the little pattern we drew in the 5-minute chart. And you got some serious whipsaw in there.
Yeah.
But
well,
boom, that's 5 minutes.
It's been impressive. Can we all agree with that? Mm-hmm. The market response post-election so far has been impressive. We talked about yesterday, with Tyler, yourself, and we had a good group yesterday, the market, breaking out of those moving averages, reclaiming them, and that's where aggressive triggers are going to be happening. Technically, I feel the market was fairly consistent last night. We didn't get that craziness that we saw in 16. I honestly, I see this as a little wide range economic report right now, but when you're looking at it from a high level analysis perspective, guys, and again, we don't know about the presidency as of right now, but when you're looking at that Senate, I think the Senate staying Republican means quite a bit to the marketplace. And this was not a massive form of analysis when you thought, okay, if we end where it is today, you're most likely going to see Biden as president, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic Congress. Now think about this from a market perspective, not from a political perspective. I know many people's emotions are up here today, but really think about this from a market analysis perspective, because that's why we're here. We're here to assess the market and the market response. Let me ask you guys a question, guys. Okay, and I just want yes or no from you guys, from the coaches. There has been a tremendous amount of talk in the last 3 months of under a Biden presidency, and the analysis of a Biden presidency was very simple. If Biden becomes president, most likely the Senate turns blue, because the blue wave is why Biden became president. All right. And I don't need to get into the nitty gritty of what's going on from a political perspective. There's other people doing that right now. But a lot of that analysis led to the elimination of the 2017 tax cut. A lot of that analysis did. Now, under a Biden presidency, with a divided Congress, are those tax cuts going to be eliminated?
Is that a question like you expect us to answer?
Yes.
That's a toss-up.
Marky, what do you think?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to eliminate tax cuts.
No chance.
I mean, Republicans are not going to sign
Not going to
off on
happen.
it.
Not going to happen. It is not going to happen. So the tax cuts that happened in 17 that gave the market a massive boost and giving certain corporations a competitive advantage to the rest of the world, those tax cuts are not getting eliminated anymore. Not going to happen. The Republican Senate will never go along with that. Number two, regulations. A lot of the Trump-built market was on the backs of deregulations, tax cut, deregulation and tax cut. Well, a lot of that deregulation, it doesn't get eliminated with a Senate majority being Republican. So you're not going to see the elimination of those, or not the elimination, but you're not going to see massive regulatory pressure being placed. Fracking. There has been a tremendous amount of talk about what a united Democratic government, i.e. Biden president, blue wave in the Senate, blue wave in the House, what that would mean to the energy sector, and specifically fracking. Now, with a Republican-held Senate, a divided government, and regardless of who gets president, Trump or Biden, do you see regulatory pressure coming into the fracking industry?
It would have to be through executive order, because once again, basically anything Biden wants to do with a Republican Senate is going to have to be negotiated or executive ordered.
Okay. And what do we know about old Mitch McConnell and how he behaves between 2010 and 2016? There you go. We know he likes that laugh because he doesn't like to put those votes up to get actually voted on, those bills
Yes.
to actually get voted on. So I don't see regulations coming from a divided government in the energy sector. What about big tech anti-regulation, guys? Let's go to the technology sector for a second, guys.
Yeah, give us XOK here, Noah, if you can.
Think
Yeah, you
about the
bet.
technology sector. Now, I think it goes without saying that Republicans and Democrats alike do not like big tech, right?
Oh,
So
different
you would
reasons.
think, you would think that this could be a Biden presidency with the Congress who unitedly hate Facebook, can't stand Google, right? Can't stand it, that there's going to be antitrust regulations coming on big tech. Guess what? Here's some bad news for people that want regulation on big tech. Republicans don't like big tech for a vastly different reason than Democrats don't like big tech. So even though they can agree that we should have some regulations, the difference in what those regulations would be are dramatic. And I don't see that getting done. Next, stimulus. I think stimulus is on the table here, guys. And I think it's on the table big. I think it's on the table big. I think over the next 2 months, we're going to be talking about a $2 trillion stimulus bill. And that number one sticking point, ladies and gentlemen, the number one sticking point for stimulus before the election was state and local government funding. And immediately this morning, what does Mitch McConnell say, Mark?
Mitch McConnell came out and said, we need a stimulus bill, and he was open to state and local funding.
Okay. So I think stimulus is on the table now. And last, infrastructure. if there's one thing, and I do believe you will see some degree of Republicans and Democrats in the Senate specifically try to get along a little bit better, and maybe this is just the last hopeful bit for me. I do believe you're going to see Republicans and Democrats in the Senate work together on an infrastructure plan. And so I'm looking at this scenario, and it really doesn't matter, in my opinion, who ultimately takes the presidency in Biden versus Trump. I'm looking at this scenario and I'm saying, with because the analysis for me really does start with the Senate staying Republican. With the Senate maintaining Republican majority, everything those Democrats wish list, the wish list of elimination of whatever Trump did, is off the table. Tax cuts, off the table. The elimination of tax cuts, off the table. Regulations in big tech, off the table. Every one of those wish list items, off the table. What's on the table? Big time stimulus, big time infrastructure. So I think the market today, and I know this is a little bit of a long-winded, but I've had a lot of thoughts in my head, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 12 hours, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. But I think the market over the night and coming into today is really looking at this saying, we don't know who the next president is going to be, but because the Senate maintained Republican majority, you're not going to see the elimination of the pro-economic business policies that came out of the Trump administration. But what you will see on top of that is the additional stimulus as well as potential infrastructure. And that environment is a bullish environment for the market. What do you guys think?
Marky, let's get your take on that first. I think there's, quite a few elements in there, Matt, that I find fascinating. And it's kind of feeling like the market's getting almost everything that it wants in some regards at this point. We're only one day. We don't have clarity yet. There's a lot that could happen. But Marky, let's get your read on that. Stimulus, infrastructure, taxes, any of the items Matt brought up.
I think Matt is that I don't have a lot to add. I think the biggest beneficiary from last night in the short term, and I think the price action reflects it, is technology. I've commented several times over the last 6 weeks about how the banks and the sentiment out there on technology was waning, and we saw that in earnings, right? The great earnings shot down. We saw that in general underperformance of tech along the way in the last 6 weeks or so. That all changed last night with the Republicans taking the Senate for the reasons Matt said. But in addition to that, there is, and everything I was reading last night, it was just basically back to safety, back to safety, back to safety. Because remember, we're going to start talking about COVID here in a week or a week and a half when the election dies down. And COVID's still there, and tech is seen as a safety play in COVID. Tech was, I mean, you saw it in the price action. Small caps are up a little bit now, but small caps were down this morning. And so there was this, I think maybe because of the polls or because of whatever, they were expecting a blue sweep, Democrats take presidency and Senate. That's not good for tech. It's good for other areas of the market. And that got flipped. And so I think you go back to tech leadership. And I think it's the easiest call. Now, I'm going to take Mitch McConnell at his word. We'll see how that plays out. A lot of things can happen in the next few weeks in the election, in stimulus, in whatever legal battles. How does the market react to that? But the takeaway last night, the only thing I know for certain is tech is back as leadership, and that's probably not going to change in the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Big winner, tech. Big losers, pollsters.
Yeah. The stimulus thing, I'm still trying to noodle through. I'll tell you. I mean, for me personally, I'm just like, okay, so if Mitch McConnell starts putting it out there that he's willing to pass something in that regard, they're willing to put a big package on the table, get the state and local funding going, Matt. I mean, the Republican Senate was obviously the big sticking point on that. So if their tone change, their messages change, and the House can pass something, the Senate approves it, does it sit on the president's desk? I don't know. There's still some lack of clarity for me on that one particular isse, but I do think it's definitely
you're caught up on the time frame of it. The market's not going to be caught up on the time frame of it. Mm-hmm. Whether or not the analysis I laid out is not the next 2 weeks, guys. Mm-hmm. That's going to be played out over the next 6 to 12 months. So, you know, that type of analysis, that's where you start. You start with the foundation, right? You start with those building blocks. You heard this all night long, all night last night. You know, Trump starts with these building block states, and Biden starts with these building block states, and then you add, and that's how you do it with an analysis as well. You look at the situation and say, okay, let me build my foundation of analysis. That is my foundation, what I laid out earlier today. Now, as we see things play out, because we still got some political things to play out here, guys. Absolutely, 100%. This thing isn't done. It's not done. We do not know exactly who our next president is going to be. Trump has viable paths through Nevada, has a viable path through Nevada, in my opinion. So we don't know. Now, could we know later today? Yeah. Could we know later this week? Yeah. We don't know exactly what the Senate's going to do. We haven't taken a massive look at all these different regulations and propositions and all these different ballot initiatives on these different states of how they're going to impact the analysis either. So you start with that foundation, and then you, as new information comes in, you adapt the analysis. But that is the foundational analysis I am working on as of right now.
Back on the actual broad market there for Noah, I do want to get a thorough technical read. Obviously, I know that we're getting volatility through the last 24-hour cycle. As clarity happens or it doesn't happen, by the way, we might continue to get intraday volatility, but we've kind of double bottomed there, guys. I mean, we stuck support there. We've rallied Monday, Tuesday into this. Now we're rallying here on Wednesday. Noah, what are you seeing here from a technical perspective?
One, I was quite impressed with the momentum. You can see the above average volume. We're back up above all the moving averages, which is all those signals we were talking about in the last 2 days, right? We were talking about what we wanted to see, break above the 9, the 50, the 20. And here we are still trading up right near that high. So, I mean, this is impressive, a pretty clear signal. And now that question is okay, well, 3,500 is right here. 3,550 is right there. Can it clear that 35.87 high? Just fascinating response. Not what I expected at all.
Matt, can you rely on the charts right now? I mean, how do you approach the next day or two?
Absolutely. I think you can rely on the charts. I think you do got to lower your time frame, right? You got, I mean, you're still looking at this environment post-election at this point as a short-term trading market. I think if the analysis proves right, the long term, we're pretty convinced on the long term, right? And on the long term, I'm fairly convinced, regardless of who is the next president, Biden or Trump, I believe the market appreciates over the next 4 years. So, and that's why I said earlier today, for me, the analysis doesn't start with the presidency, even though obviously the presidency and who becomes our next presidency is always going to be at the forefront of everything. But for me, this is kind of like a football game. We always talk about the quarterback, but right now that game is won in the trenches. And right now, for me, it starts in the trenches. That Senate, Republican maintaining Senate, and yeah, votes need to be counted, but I still believe Republicans will maintain Senate majority. So with the Senate maintaining majority status on the Republican side, that's to me where the analysis really starts, and that's the trenches. That's the offensive line, and so that to me is where the analysis starts. And really, corporate tax cuts, regulations in energy, big tech, antitrust regulation, stimulus, infrastructure. I don't think the analysis changes that much, quite frankly, under Trump or Biden, because when you look at the analysis under Trump, he's not going to eliminate his corporate tax cuts. He's not going to eliminate the regulations. He's not going to, they're still not going to agree on big tech regulations. Stimulus, Trump was very hot on stimulus before the election. There's nothing that would indicate that he wouldn't be all over stimulus post-election. So I still think stimulus, even if Trump does pull it out here today or tomorrow, I still think stimulus is on the table big time. And I still think infrastructure is on the table big time under Trump or Biden. So for me, it really is the analysis in the Senate. And regardless of that wish list the Democrats and the far left might have had, they're not going to get that done. You're not going to see the elimination of the economically pro-business type economic philosophies that came out of the Trump administration in the last 4 years. So with those maintaining, plus infrastructure stimulus, lack of regulatory measures, it doesn't matter to me. That Senate is the trenches here, and that's why for me, and I gave this a lot of thought last night, guys. And for me, once I kind of felt comfortable that the Senate was going to maintain Republican, it really started becoming clearer to me on that type of analysis. Now, obviously, things got to play out here, right? They got to play out here. We're going to have, even if the vote is counted today and announced today, and even if we see Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia, and North Carolina today, even if we see them come in, you're going to have some court battles here. You might have some recounts in Wisconsin. There are some final analysis to where we would see some recounts. So we better dig in here. This could be a long week, but the analysis doesn't change for me regarding whether or not we see on the marketplace, regardless of what we see on the presidency.
No, and I think the overnight price action supports that. When Trump was winning early last night, the market was up big. And then there was a little bit of uncertainty along the way. And in fact, last night, early in the morning on the futures, the S&P, which is up, 100 points right now, was down 30 points. I mean, there was a 1,300 point swing in the last 10 hours and 130 point swing. And now that Biden is the betting favorite, market's still up. So the market was going up when they thought Trump was. The market's now going up with Biden. I really think, Matt, your analysis on the Republican Senate is what is calming the market. And so even if there is a contested election, yes, now can it create some algo headlines that drive the market down over the next month if it's a real long run? Of course it can. But I think the market has spoken on the Republican Senate because that's the one thing they know. And I think they say, yes, give me some of that.
Yeah, and I still think, and I agree with that, Mark, obviously, but I still think this is a short-term trading environment. I think at a minimum, from a long-term perspective, you're probably removing some degree of hedges long-term here. I believe it is still a short-term trading environment, but you can start to see some analysis mapping out where, you know, you broke up above the 20 and the 50-day moving average in the short term. You treat it like a momentum scenario where you're looking at that overhead resistance right north of 3,500 with that significant whole number of 3,500, and you're saying, all right, maybe I don't want to chase it here today. A lot of that, you know, action in the market was done pre-market, so you know, might not want to chase it, especially, you know, right south of that 3,500 zone. But wait a little bit, guys. The biggest move post 2016 was not in the few days immediately after 16. It was once the market started adopting that first term agenda of the Trump administration. Once they started adopting that in later November, at that point you had this massive rally in price action. And so I don't feel like anybody today should be looking at the market like, oh, I missed out on this. No, guys, if the market starts adopting a theme here, and that's what I'm really talking about, is that analysis leading into market theme adoption. If the market does start adopting these types of themes, you're going to have some good, very good trending environments in the short term. So we're not there yet, right? We're not there. We're right south of that major resistance zone. But I do think you're getting prepared on the bull side. I do think you're updating those watch lists. I do think over the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to be looking at it from a sector analysis perspective as we start to get a little bit more clarity from the election. Because even though we have a good idea right now what ultimately is going to happen, we still need to see it play out. And so we start with that foundation, we build upon it over the next few weeks.
Matt, do you think it's too early to start digging into the sectors until we get a little bit more clarity?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think you're going to have some immediate reactions, some
like look at healthcare.
Some pot shop type analysis. But yes, I do think we are extremely premature on sector analysis right now. Now, obviously, healthcare is blowing up, but honestly, somebody give me the actual reason why.
No, I think it's too early. I think people are speculating right now as to why. Yeah.
So I do think we are a little too premature on that sector analysis right now. Do we have an indication? Yeah, we have an indication, and that indication right now is big tech right now. Okay, we have an indication, but do we know exactly how that's going to play out? Absolutely not. We know what Biden's agenda is. We know what Trump's agenda is. We now know what the party affiliation in the Congress is going to be most likely. So we're starting that, but from a sector perspective, I still think we're a little bit premature there.
You know, on the
And,
top end of, the company's marquee, one of the biggest winners here today was Google as well. In that tech theme, Matt, same kind of thing. They're breaking out, they're running. You get big movements. Mark, you had a thought there. I didn't want to
Well,
cut
no,
you.
two things. I mean, there's two things I know, and it really is. The tech thing over the next 4 years, I've already started to juggle around my portfolio allocation. Now, I'm not going to go 100% tech. I'm not going to go 50% tech because that's irresponsible. But I was really low on tech as far as portfolio allocation, and for my long-term investing, I'm starting to shift around some of that because, tech's going to be higher 4 years from now. I mean,
I think so.
that's a radical guess, right? The other thing I know is that liquor store nearest to me hit an all-time high on Google search last night. The all-time highest number liquor store near me on the search engine last night.
I don't blame that one at all. That was a roller coaster.
In a close second was liquor store near me open now.
Open now, especially in Utah. Especially there in Utah.
What's up, guys? I heard the word liquor store and I jumped in.
And you popped in?
Yeah,
Hey,
my liquor store, I think it's open. They got a wooden door now. It's like a wooden windows, wooden doors. So I don't know if it's open or not. Maybe somebody needs a spray paint on there.
Yeah.
Which means outside of Gino and Noah and Mark's liquor store analysis, yes, we're very premature on
Early on it
right now.
Gino, how you doing today, buddy? And
man.
Markets
Good.
are up big here, Gino.
Breakfast of champions out here, buddy. Got some Loco Moco. Okay.
Good deal.
That's
Let's
wine
flash your
food.
Go ahead. Let's flash your commodities here real quick if we can. Noah, crude oil first.
You flash your commodities.
We definitely. Gino's on it. Apparently.
Nope.
Back up into congestion.
He hasn't stopped drinking from last night.
Yeah. He had the permit. He went straight through all night long. Went straight through.
Gino, did you sleep at all, buddy?
Of course, man.
Yeah,
why would I not?
Absolutely. Crude light here, guys. It looked like it was going to break down. Now we're breaking back up above the old support, back in a range here. I've got no read on this besides neutral at this point. Matt, anything you've seen in crude that grabs your attention?
No, I mean, technically it's very challenging right now. Yeah, I mean, it's all over the board, very volatile right now. I think you do have this risk on mentality right now in the marketplace, as some degree of uncertainty is being removed. And so you're seeing a little bit of that just risk on analysis in almost everything in the market. Crude oil up 3.4%. The Dow Jones is up a rock solid 2.5%. S&P's up right now 3.1%. So, I mean, crude's really kind of just moving in that risk on environment with the marketplace. And, you see crude run, you see the markets run together. You also see Bitcoin, guys. And I know, we've talked a lot about Bitcoin, but you're seeing Bitcoin risk on mentality. Bitcoin up 3%, crude up 3.5%, S&P up 3%. Bitcoin breaking out of that 14,000 barrier with a high Bitcoin. Yeah, with the high price right now of 14,420, and you guys can make all the jokes at 420 you want, but that breakout of 14,000, risk on. We've been talking about that potential breakout in of 14,000 for the last couple of weeks. We're breaking out of 14,000.
I honestly cannot believe that Mark Justice highest, and it's not a close second, portfolio distribution is in Bitcoin.
I'm shocked at that. I'm utterly shocked by that.
It just is, but man,
isn't it amazing how slow it happens?
It has been a situation developing over the last month, 2 months, but especially that last month with a combination of sentimental shifts, legitimate catalyst, and then a beautiful technical pattern. I continue to freaking love Bitcoin, especially in a risk-on environment. I mean, yeah.
Well, and you have to love this technical pricing here, Matt. And no, give me a weekly chart on this.
Hold on.
We've talked about it before.
Remove all the emotion from the election. Remove my entire analysis, and let's just say what old Tyler Craig would say. You're having a breakout of those moving averages in the S&P, risk on. You're having oil up with the market, risk on. You have Bitcoin breaking out of 14,000, risk on. This market wants to buy, guys. It wants to buy risk on assets. And in an environment, because think about my analysis on the election and the foundation of the analysis moving on in the future. Mm-hmm. That is a holy cow, we don't care about debt analysis. That's what that is. Okay. And I don't like it personally. I don't like it. I don't like that amount of debt, but it is a pro debt analysis. I have to be honest in that. So, but I'm not, don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. I wouldn't vote for that. But the reality is it is a pro debt analysis. And in that environment today, risk assets up, 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 gold, safe haven asset down today, but not down big. I think this is an environment that gold's kind of that quiet, like Bitcoin's leading the charge here, showing risk on, risk on. I still think keep an eye on. I love the breakout in Bitcoin here. Absolutely love the breakout of Bitcoin here. That's legit. Mark, we could see some blow off tops. That's an aggressive entry, but I still like the entry. But keep an eye on gold too here. I
Back to
love
gold,
that shiny little metal.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's take a look at that gold chart real quick if we can. I mean, 1900, obviously where it's sticking. I mean, long-term monetary policy, Matt, that analysis isn't going to change from any of the election results, what the Fed is doing in that regard. There is an FOMC statement tomorrow. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But Matt, here in this chart, are you still watching the same things? You're waiting
Oh my goodness, like a hawk, like a hawk. And I love the market action here today. I love what we're seeing. Crude oil, whatever. Get out of here. But I do love what we're seeing in the market. I love what we're seeing in crypto, and I might actually love more what I'm seeing in gold, to be quite honest with you. Now, we haven't triggered here, but with the market celebrating the euphoria of risk on right now, and you would think maybe gold took it on the chin a little bit, but what happened, it just held resistance. It's down, obviously underperforming the market, but nothing in the analysis changes. You still like the weekly chart, and you're still looking at that daily trend line coming down, saying, listen, aggressively, I'm going to trigger above that trend line, above those moving average. We saw what happened with the market when it reclaimed those moving averages. Aggressive entry would be right above those moving averages there that correlate with that trend line coming down. Second, more conservative would be say, let me see that higher high. And then as it comes down and establishes that low, and maybe that low is, maybe that retracement comes to 1940, 1950. We don't know exactly what that would be, but that would be more conservative. But like I said last week, I maintained it yesterday. I'll say it again today. I like what I'm seeing on gold. Now we just got to wait for now we just got to have the patience to wait to see it actually occur. Long-term investors, no, I mean, the pro debt argument I laid out, and again, something I don't agree with. I think national debt is a very big concern. But the pro debt price appreciation argument, it just fits right in line with monetary theory. And if we do see that play out, what you're going to see, guys, is risky assets go up in value. You're going to see safe haven assets like gold go up in value over time. And that's not a good picture for inflation. That's not a good picture for economic expansion, but it is a good picture for investors.
Marky, any additional thoughts on gold from you?
No, I mean, give me that technical signal. I mean, the situation I think that would have provided gold's catalyst is that blue sweep. I think the unlimited money that might have been spent under that would have provided a catalyst. I think we're in a cash flow environment on gold for a while.
Yeah,
I think we're in a cash flow environment in gold.
Yeah, but that being said, if we do get those technical breaks, man, I still am going to play them because those longer term charts, I know the daily's stuck here in this triangle, but those longer term charts, I think the longer
it is a tightening. I mean, I do love me a compression pattern where you just get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter because something has to give. So,
and I certainly understand the blue wave pro gold argument. I'm sorry, I don't believe that's in the analysis, and the reason is very simple. I've seen Republicans go into more debt in the last 4 years than I've seen Obama in the previous 4 years. So to me, we don't live in an environment where one is anti-debt and the other one is pro-debt. We live in an environment of monetary theory where they're going to do whatever they need. So to me, the analysis of gold doesn't change.
Mark, Adam Stewart in the chat is reminding you that if you ever need a moment to remind you to be happy, McDonald's.
Boom, McRib, buddy.
McRib. That
McRib listen, man, if my energy is low, like many Americans, I was drunken up till 2:30 a.m. and got up at 5, kept drinking as I was checking the results. So I'm a freaking mess.
Listen, I know how Mark feels today. I've had that feeling many times in my life, but as a man who hasn't had a drink of alcohol in the last 7 months, I'm rocking ready to go, buddy.
Dude, I'm sleep deprived a little
I
bit
am
myself.
rocking ready to go.
It's
And I would like to criticize all Americans right now. Like you need to plan ahead and have foresight. Why are you looking where the liquor store is late last night? You needed to have that planned out ahead of time. So
you should have been prepared for a long
you should
night
have
in
been
advance.
prepared. Like, listen, it's
I
all
got
about
you.
planning and preparing your trades.
Yep.
So
There's a couple of stock news items I do want to analyze. I don't want to speculate too much beyond many of those, though, guys. I mean, broad market analysis we'll come back to when we get our final thoughts and whatnot. We're here on the day after Election Day trying to process the results, the market reactions to them, and all that kind of stuff. If you're out there watching our show right now, as always, glad that you're joining us. Coming in and having a conversation about the actual analysis. I think it's been fantastic so far. Appreciate the chat so far as well. Give me a thumbs up and hashtag Team Tackle in that chat. Mark, couple of stock items I did want to get your take on and kind of get the team as well. Give me Uber or Lyft if you can, Noah. This was a big news for these two ride sharing companies. In California, they passed Proposition 22. And California accounts for about 9% of Uber's revenue, 16% of Lyft's revenue. And there's also some assumptions that it might spill into further policy down the road for other states and whatnot. Prop 22 basically says that Uber and Lyft do not have to call their contractors workers, Matt. And this has been a big court battle for these companies for a very long time. Marky, your take on this one first. Any interest in Uber and Lyft?
No. It removes some of the, one of those unknown risk elements to it. Right now, like, listen, until I see stimulus, like the epicenter stocks that are greatly, because once again, COVID is here. It's not going to disappear just because we have a new president. It's going to be here. Cases are going up. It's going to impact how people behave. And until you see stimulus money specifically directed towards certain industries, I'm shifting to tech and a little bit away from epicenter.
Mm-hmm. Maddie, what's your read on this one? This has been a ongoing story for years and years and years about these companies getting drug into court. There were appeals. A court judge would rule for them, then against them. It was a back and forth kind of soap opera there for quite some time. Now, Proposition 22, the voters are speaking here. What's your read on Uber and Lyft here?
I mean, honestly, Tim, and I'm just going to be as straightforward and honest as I can. I don't have any analysis on it yet. I think for people that actually have an opinion, it's something you need to research it. And with everything else from a broad-based perspective, I just haven't thought about it yet. And like I said at the very, very beginning of the show, I have not dived into the propositions yet around the United States because there's a ton of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's so early, watching these reactions, seeing how it's actually going to play out. I'm with you on the mindset on that.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. Don't be premature, guys. Don't front run. Don't be premature. Work out your analysis. Be data driven. And if you haven't done the research yet, write it down. Do it later. But no, I have not looked into the data behind all the propositions, Tim.
By the way, Maria is got a good call here. Hopefully we get less political text and spam calls here.
Oh, Maria, emails, just no more emails. I got hit on both sides. Like, it's the worst thing in the world being an independent sometimes, guys. You get doubled up on that election stuff. It is a nightmare. I have to get a new email account because of it. It's terrible.
And then the last one for me here today, guys, as we're really thinking more big picture, from market response, give me Penn and DraftKings. Penn probably here, Noah, if you can first. Mark, Maryland approved sports betting and events for their betting facilities are going to be approved as well. Another kind of move towards something that we've been talking about for a lot of 2020, this gambling type of industry, getting some expansiveness. What's your read on Penn here, Mark, in that, Maryland measure that got passed?
Well, I mean, like this, I'm going to rinse and repeat. We know, like, with this long-term view of sports betting, we know that these catalysts are going to come along every time. With Penn and DraftKings, it all comes down to, if you love the long-term space, which I do, what's the price that you're willing to stick out a very long journey? For me, when things are a little stretched valuation, I'm always going to sell them naked puts low. I got a naked put on DraftKings at $30 that looked like a couple days ago. Maybe I get put, doesn't look so likely today, but I'll just continue to do that. Find opportunities if they arise to sell naked puts, to get premium at lower levels, because I would love to own it. They're just really pricey right now from a valuation. They're really priced for a lot of perfection, but there are going to be a lot of catalysts along the way in which you're going to have up days like that. So if you believe in that, and you can trade any chart, right? You get technical signal, you get technical signal, like that breakout in early August. I don't care what the valuation is. You get good technical signals, you can trade them just like you can any stock. But from a long-term perspective, it's a very intriguing space to be in. For me, DraftKings at 30 is what I've been targeting. I'm going to continue to stick with that. If it expires worthless, I'm going to sell another one in December and rinse and repeat until I get more information to base things on. But I love the space long term. It's just valuation is the only question.
Yep. Back on the broad markets here, Noah. Let's keep it big picture, through this show, and kind of finish just on some broad thoughts here, Matt. As we're watching these markets over the next 24 hours, what are you going to be watching for? Is there anything that would, really change your analysis at all? Is there anything that you're particularly paying attention to?
Yeah, we don't have called the races, guys. I mean, we got it. I've said earlier today, I'll say it. I've said 10 times today. The analysis is predicated on the things we know right now. That could change. That could change. We still have open elections in the Senate. We still have open elections in the House. We still have an open election in the presidency. And the simple reality is we knew this coming in, that this was going to be most likely a lengthy process. In the podcast this week, I talked about, the potential of this being a horse race. And that's what it was. It was a horse race. The Trump supporter came out, and I think you got to give the president, he took a tremendous amount of criticism for those rallies, but those rallies, they got his base out. They did. They got that base out, and they came out in droves on election day. And so it's going to be fascinating to watch this over the next 24 hours or so. But, the analysis could change based on the final count. No doubt about that. What we know right now is that the Senate is most likely going to go Republican. The House is most likely go to Democrat, and probably Biden has a slight, I'd say probably a little bit of a slight fave right now, but those can change. I watched it last night, and I try to watch these elections in, economic terms, political terms, a lot of different hats to a certain extent. And as I'm watching it last night, you could just feel the emotion go up and down of the entire marketplace, and you saw it in the trend, up, down, up, down, up, down. But, you kind of just felt it in social media. You felt it everywhere last night, where there were times where, there was a 3-hour stretch where I was pretty certain Trump was going to be our next president. That's just the way the data was going. And then there were times I thought, well, Biden's got a chance here in Georgia. He's got a chance in. I never felt Florida was really in the running. I felt Florida would shade to the red, and it certainly did. And Trump built upon his lead in Florida against 2016 very, very impressively. And so I think because this race is so tight, we're still only 20,000 ballot difference in Wisconsin. We're still only 20,000 ballot difference in Michigan. We're still only 8,000 ballots in Nevada right now, and there's scenarios where they trigger recounts. So I think we need to be open-minded about this, and I think we need to let the process play out. But the foundation of the argument starts for me with that Senate, and I do believe that the Senate stays red here. That's what the data suggests. So could minor things change? Yeah, certainly. But what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for this market from a technical perspective. It has momentum behind it. Can the market continue to see that type of momentum coming into that all-important 3,500 zone? Can we see the market play defense? Because we're going to get some nasty volatility, guys. But can the market play defense? Can it hold those moving averages? I'm looking at this market over the next week. Certainly the political circus, and as it plays out, right? Let's watch that play out. But in terms of it from a market perspective, I'm looking at this market, how it behaves above 3,400. Does it play defense on the downward movements in price? Do we consolidate at that 3,500 level? I'm looking at this market from a technical perspective moving on, and then from the foundational analysis, make minor changes as we start to see more information come out that would impact certain sectors, as we start to see exactly how the president is going to shape out. And guys, there's some Democrats out there that are growing victory right now. Premature. Premature, very premature. This is still an election. And so people that are declaring victory too soon, they were doing it last night, they're doing it today. Let's see the process play out. We don't control the process. I can't control that process. I can't tell them to count votes, not count. I can't do that. I have to watch the process play out. And as that process plays out, does the market play defense if we see any degree of downward movement in price? That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I saw Timmy and Matt play a game in Madden once, and Timmy went up by 10 with 45 seconds to go in the game, and he stood up and he's like, "Dagger!" Game wasn't over yet, was it, Matt?
No, you play until it goes 0-0 there. But
If you're gonna bring games up right now, let's not bring one up from 15 years ago. Let's bring up.
Listen. All I'm gonna say is this: that was one game. The other game that Tim has never played Madden again is when I beat him 82-0.
That's true.
So, and that was, by the way,
I would never play again either.
He never did. Mark, it was 2-minute quarters. 2-minute quarters. And that was after he was like, "Dagger, I'm up 10." I'm like, "Bro, you're premature, dude. Come on."
That was the day the music died. That's
premature.
All right, let's get some final thoughts here, guys. Yeah. Obviously we're focused on big picture. I love the analysis here today, guys, and I love the conversation. And Team Tackle, I really appreciate, the fact that we have a community here that we can come together and we can just talk civilly. And I was impressed, quite frankly, from most of the people in my life over the last 24 hours. I've not seen it spin into some crazy negativity and name calling and all this kind of stuff. Okay. I mean, big win for democracy, in my opinion, in that regard. Out and they voted in force.
Beautiful
parties. I thought it was wonderful.
Beautiful. I loved the turnout yesterday. I loved the passion on the Republican side. I loved the turnout we saw yesterday. And, people should celebrate. That's why we're here, to participate. So I did love that. But again, let's watch this process play out. It's been a highly emotional, but Tim, I have a lot of Democrat friends, and I have a tremendous amount of Republican friends. And you know what? To each and every one of them, I thought all of them were amazing. Mm-hmm. I did. I never saw any massive degree of negativity in personally in my life, and thankfully we didn't see anything happen around the U.S. so far. So, I think you're seeing democracy at play here, and I think it's something we should celebrate to a certain extent. But I also think we should be patient and let it really play out. And that doesn't mean listen to what Biden or Trump says. That means let's let the process itself play out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Final thought from you, Noah.
Everybody remain calm. We'll get through this.
Mm-hmm. I think that was a deep breath.
No. It was a nice tone in his voice.
Yeah.
I just wanted to listen. I was like,
right.
Dude, that will calm me down. Absolutely.
That was like that late night AM DJ voice where you really talk slowly.
Really more like an NPR DJ voice.
It was a little NPR. I liked it though.
Marky, final thoughts from you, sir.
Listen, I mean, the biggest thing I'm having a hard time with, and maybe some of you too, is what to do with directional trading or what to do. With investments, I have a pretty clean idea of what I want to do. But I'm treating this candle as a post-earnings candle, where you have this big event and let's say, essentially a gap up, right? Gaps up, all right? And you're like, oh, I'm going to miss out. Or like, I'm just treating this like I would an earnings event. Let the volatility die out and then let the pattern, because I don't have zero read on the sentiment other than what Matt has talked about from a big picture. But I don't know if that's the short-term sentiment, right? Maybe everyone was just smashing the buy button because they were fear and FOMO. That honestly, will play out. So,
Mark, it could be as simple as elections in a little bit of the rearview mirror, and people are just excited. Yeah, and I'm talking market, obviously. It's just it's in the rearview mirror. There could be just something as simple as that. I think we need to let the market play out the same way we need to let the political process play out.
Yeah, and so from where I'm at today is just I'm very confident in tech over the next 4 years, and I have zero idea what's going to happen from a technical analysis over the next 4 days.
Would you agree, guys? Tech, out of all those sectors, and again, we need analysis here. And we need time to work on that. But tech is a big winner out of last night.
That is the one thing
the first
I know
winner
for
I thought
sure.
of. Yeah.
Tech's a winner here.
It was the first sector I thought of as things were playing themselves out. Yeah, very good. Gino, I don't know if you have any final thoughts over there, sir, if you're still here, but what are your final thoughts for the team?
I do see, like Mark said it perfectly, do we jump in now? Is elections over? No, the news event has happened, but the results are not over. You got to tread water lightly. You still got to play with caution. If you feel any, fear of the markets, you don't have to jump in just because you feel like you're missing out. There was some great strategies. We went over the lounge last week, since from last Wednesday till now. VIX was really high. I called the top last week on a Bollinger Band signal, and it played out very well. It dropped 11% from there, and I've already exited those positions, most of them, on a Vega drop. And we explained that, and we have it posted in the lounge on archive. So if you missed that, go look at it. I went over it 2 days. And, that was the play for me. So going forward, directional, be careful. Be careful. Watch your sectors. I like to move in healthcare and utilities today. It did trigger to the upside and a nice bullish trigger. I like your comments on tech. Energy, will it reverse trend? It's at neutral right now on my chart. So energy, if it kicks in this year, would really help the markets, but it's not over until it's over. The results aren't in. I think the volatility is here to stay until we get the exact outlook of the administration, the House, the Senate, all that stuff. But I think a lot of the fear is, hey, you know what? There wasn't so far any riots in California. Thank God. I was kind of worried about that because I'm in the heart of LA here. And I don't see that happening so far anywhere. Hopefully people stay sane. But again, position size correctly. And if you're not missing out, you don't have to jump in.
Yeah. And then my final thought is very simple, guys and coaches. I appreciate all the insight you're helping our team out there with. There's no question about it. I was driving home yesterday and went up and I think, it was an amazing moment for me personally. I went up to Washington to pick up my daughter because she had just graduated from her AIT training through the Army. If you're a service person and you served in one of the branches, you might know exactly what I'm talking about. She was there and she's, been gone for almost 16 months, 18 months, I think, something like that. And it was just an amazing moment as a father coming home. It was the day of the election. We talked life, we talked politics, we talked about her career goals. And, it gave me context. And I just am so happy right now from that perspective. And then coming here and hanging out with you guys today, it's just like, okay, I've got my community, I've got my family, we've got every opportunity in front of us at all times, positivity at all time, guys. And I love the conversation today. I love the chat today. Team Tackle, you guys are my tribe. There's no question about it. I love you guys, and we're going to keep it on analysis, and we're going to keep our community moving forward and keep you guys prepared. No question about it. Tonight, we do have two events. We do have a 7 p.m. Eastern YouTube special. We do it every Wednesday night. Coach Greg Holmes is going to be coming in teaching portfolio protection and some of the concepts he does with portfolio design and stuff like that. The Old Money Holmes is a wonderful, wonderful coach and investor. Come and join him tonight for some insight and analysis. And then at 8:30, we're doing the Tackle 25 Mastermind Group. And Coach Tyler is going to be teaching the Tackle 25 Mastermind Group tonight. Cover call, cash flow kind of concepts. Come and join Coach Tyler if you're a Tackle 25 student. Yeah, it was a very big deal for me, Matt. There's no doubt about it.
It's a big deal, bro. Come on. I got emotional yesterday about it.
I've choked up a couple times, and I'm not going to cry on the halftime show.
I am going to get you to cry. That is my goal. Tim, there's a whole thing about this, but I'm so happy for you, bro. I am so happy. And I went over yesterday. I got to saw my niece for the first time in some time. And like I said, there's some backstory here, but I am so damn proud of that young woman, Tim. And I was going to say little girl, that young woman. And like, I'm just so happy for you. I know you're excited as all get out. So
dude,
you go spend some time with your family today, bro. That is, I just love that.
Even as your kids become adults. I mean, she served in the Army. She's still my little girl. You know how it is being a parent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got all protective mode yesterday when I saw her. I'm like, I don't care if you're 20. It doesn't matter to me. I'll whoop somebody's ass.
That's right. All right, guys, we are done for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're live tonight, 7:00. Come and join us. Be a part of Team Tackle. Thanks for being a part of our community. If you're not yet a pro member, as always, there's a trial in the comments below. Come and join us, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. We are out.